right, let's get into our next discussion now. An All Progressives Congress lawmaker, Ono-Agege, will not be at the National Assembly representing his people for the next 90 legislative days due to a suspension imposed on him by the Senate.
Ono-Agege was penalized over his comments that moves to reorder the sequence of polls in a general election was targeted at President Muhammadu Buhari. The committee, Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions had investigated Ono-Agege's comments based on a petition by Senator Dino Melaye. Two other Senators, Abdul Mumin Jibrin and Senator Alin Dume of the 8th Assembly, have also suffered the same fate as they were suspended for different reasons.
All right, we have joining us a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Fred Nzako, with us in the studio. Good morning, Fred. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Right. Now, following the different comments people have been making and recent developments from the National Assembly, especially the Senate, where a senator was suspended for voicing out what he felt is not, or he doesn't believe in. A lot of Nigerians feel, okay, that's just an arrangement within the National Assembly, but others said that is going too far.
Mike, let me very quickly, first of all, say that as we speak, we don't have a law to regulate 2019 election, except we go back to 2010 Electoral Act as amended, which was used in 2011 and used in 2015 elections. So many things have happened between 2011, 2015, and 2019, especially with respect to the electronic matters and the card reader and the rest of them. We need to update our laws, especially the electoral laws are supposed to be updated from time to time to take care of the dynamics of democracy and the electoral voting. Now we don't have anyone. The National Assembly has passed the 2018 bill, and then which has been refused assent by the president. That is where it is as of today. And the time to assent or not to assent has passed. So obviously, except it is represented to Mr. President for his assent or his assent is vetoed by the National Assembly, we are not seeing any move in that direction. So that should worry Nigerians. And of course, the crux of the content of that bill is what has pursued Ono-Agege out of the floor of the Senate.
That amendment that you talk about, that need, to amend the electoral laws from time to time.
Yes.
Isn't that what the legislature, the Senate specifically, is trying to do?
Yes,
that is
their responsibility.
Yes.
And that is what they have done. That in the process of doing that, a lot of issues have arisen.
Yes.
One of which
like
is
the order of the elections.
Like the order of election, the schedule of the election. The date and the rest of them is left with INEC. There has been a lot of argument to and forth in that direction. Because so many people are quoting Section 15, Section 25 of the Electoral Act. They are quoting Section 15 of the third schedule of the Constitution. In that Section 15, they are holding on to subsection A, that there is a subsection I, which gives the National Assembly the authority to direct INEC on most issues. In that case, the Constitution says, and carry out every other duty as directed by the Act of the National Assembly. That's not the crux of the matter today. We only want to lay that background for Nigerians to know that we are gradually facing electoral challenge if we go into 2019 election without the laws, except we fall back on 2010 laws and then use all the administrative policies of INEC to run the election. And that will not be good enough.
Are we facing authoritarianism within the legislature that says, within the legislature, you must hold the same views as every other person?
Very good.
Is that what is going on?
Very good. That's not what is going on. When you say that Senator Ono-Agege was sanctioned because of holding different views, that is not correct.
Okay.
The correct thing is that Senator Ono-Agege misconducted himself as a parliamentarian, because for every privilege there is a responsibility. He has parliamentary and legislative privilege, which guarantees him to say anything on the floor of the parliament, and then he will not be prosecuted. He will not be held accountable for that. But when he now leaves the floor of the parliament, where he has that legislative immunity, and then goes outside to make some utterances to disparage this very institution that he took an oath to sustain and support and work with. That's where he misconducted himself. And he not only made such insinuations, he went as far as going to court. Naturally, in a democracy, which we all know that is a game of numbers, the minority will have its say, but the majority will have its way. It's akin to what will happen to a minister when you, after in a federal executive council meeting, you hold a different view, and then the majority will hold a different view. After that, the view of the majority becomes the position of the federal cabinet. And when you leave that federal executive council meeting, you go straight to court. What do you think will happen to your position? You'll be sacked immediately. Because you cannot fight in a government bureaucracy, you cannot fight the same government that you're serving. So if you have a different view, as long as that your view is in the minority, it's on record that you have that view. There it ends. Let the view of the majority prevail. That is democracy. So if Senator Ono-Agege went ahead to extraneously push his view and then ensure that his view gets strength in the court of law. And of course, what goes on in the parliament is not in the purview of the court to look into. By doctrine of separation of powers, you don't look into that, except if a particular aspect of the constitution is breached. That's when the court is activated. When there's no breach of the position of the constitution, you don't go just go and activate the court just for the sake of popularity. And that is why some people believe that what the senator did was to play to the gallery and be a good boy to Mr. President. And then that has cost him his seat in parliament, at least for the next 90 days. The next question will be, well, maybe when you finish your own.
Now, I was going to go into the issue, the disbandment of the PSG, the Parliamentary Support Group, which also got tongues wagging as to the National Assembly leadership going, or the Senate leadership going really far, because we know that there are so many other groups within the Senate, even within the National Assembly. So why disband this one on the account that maybe it is in support of the president and his re-election bid and all of that?
I think basically that all those groups must be disbanded, not only that group, because you cannot be playing an activist role inside parliament.
You can't be playing politics.
You can't be playing politics
in the legislature
as an activist inside parliament. You are supposed to make laws. There are so many laws yearning to be made. There are so many laws yearning to be amended. There are so many laws yearning to be brought to date. These are things that we ask them to go and do there. You cannot abdicate that and you are doing a luta inside the parliament. You don't do that because that is not in your purview. And then I not only support that this one should be disbanded, I enjoin the leadership of National Assembly to disband every other such group that is against the functions of the legislature, because it is the same time that they would have used to make laws that they are now using to play politics.
But if you talk about disbanding all of those that are against the legislature, the point there is the like minds group on which platform the Senate President came as Senate President, even against the prescription of his own political party, should have been disbanded, or shouldn't he have been allowed to see the light of day?
And that's why I say that, as far as I am concerned, there shouldn't be such nocturnal groups in parliament. When you come to parliament, it's either you belong to a political party, one political party, or not. If you belong to the caucus of your political party, that is acceptable.
A different thing.
That is acceptable. But when you now begin to create courts and then small groups, small activist groups inside the legislature, what the effect it will have is that it will begin to distract the job of legislation, the job of lawmaking. The job of lawmaking is an intellectually sapping job, and then you need capacity to be able to do that. You need time and you need concentration to be able to do that.
And
because
you need to work in tandem.
You are making laws for the good order and governance of the country.
Okay, so the case of OVA or Ono-Agege is not the only one before us here. We're looking at the Abdul Mumin Jibrin issue and of course Alin Dume. Yes. Do they both fall under the same category as Ono-Agege?
Yes, they do. Abdul Mumin Jibrin was asked by the House of Reps. Was suspended for a very long time, and even though he went to court
the budget
for over the budget padding issue and an allegation against his colleagues, and they asked him, they sanctioned him. Senator Alin Dume also misconducted himself in the eye of his colleagues, and they sanctioned him. And I want to very quickly say that In every jurisdiction, in every democratic jurisdiction all over the world, legislators have the capacity to sanction or punish their members who, in their opinion, misconduct themselves. In some jurisdictions, like in America, it even goes to the point of even expulsion. They could expel their member. It is there in their laws.
But can it be abused? I mean, we know that's definitely why, that should be the reason why they have an ethics and privileges
in every human
committee.
Endeavor,
yes.
there is possibility of
to abuse.
But it is now left for the society to decide whether there is an abuse in this case or there is not abuse in this case. In this particular case of Senator Ono-Agege, I think his sanction is well in order.
How do you even draw the line? Sorry, but I'll allow you make that point.
Yes.
Ono-Agege is representing a constituency,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
When he speaks, this stance that he has taken,
Yes.
is it on behalf of his constituents in Delta State?
Not on behalf
or is it a personal...
It is not on behalf of his constituency, it
Yes.
is on behalf of Mr. President.
Okay.
So
that is not necessarily his constituency.
So that tells you that he was not talking on behalf of his constituency. The issues that brought him into trouble are not issues that have to do with Delta State or his own senatorial district. It is issue that has to do with the interest of Mr. President. And then he was advancing his personal interest.
But on the other hand, what if
got him into trouble?
Yeah, but what if his constituents say they are in support of the president?
Well, they are free to say anything. But if his constituents are comfortable with his coming home to sit and then maybe the Senate has given him enough time, 90 days to go and campaign for Mr. President. So let him go all over the place and campaign. But my only worry, I must say quickly before I forget, Mike, is that
please go ahead.
Order 67 Rule 4, Senate rules, says that you cannot suspend somebody beyond 2 weeks. But somebody has told me that they amended that order. I am yet to lay my hands on that amendment and confirm the veracity or not. If eventually that has not been amended, that is the only place where I pick holes with the actions of the Senate. Because what it means is that they too are breaching their own internal rules.
Because you want to weigh the punishment.
The punishment
with
I'm not even looking at the punishment or
Okay.
the size or weight of the punishment. I'm looking at constitutionalism.
Whether the constitution allows for that.
Constitutionalism and rule of law. I'm a very strict adherent to constitutionalism and rule of law.
And the implications for the people he represents.
Yes. If eventually your rule says 2 weeks, why extend it to 90 days?
Exactly.
They are yet to explain to us what has happened. Did they amend the rules? It is in their purview. It is in their authority to amend their rules. We are not holding it against them, but operate within the set standards that you have kept. That is my only worry. The issue of whether it is affecting the constituents of Senator Ono-Agege, the Senator Ono-Agege himself would have known that it will affect his constituents. He first apologized. And after apology, went to court. Taking the institution that he swore to protect to court leaves a lot to be desired. So it is his constituents that should be asking him questions. Why did you misrepresent us?
All right, in a situation,
why did you sack him?
Okay. Now, in a situation like this, where some people will see whatever went on in the National Assembly as the affair of the other arm of government, which is the National Assembly. Now, talking from the perspective of the judiciary,
yes,
when a case within senators or within the National Assembly is brought to the judiciary to adjudicate or to look into as the case may be, is it within the judiciary to throw it back and say, well, it is your issue, go home and settle your internal issue and all of that? At what point is it right to take the National Assembly to court in this kind of situation?
Very good. It is dependent on the nature of the case.
Okay.
If the prima facie evidence indicates that the matter is a matter that lies within the internal affairs of National Assembly, the court is expected to decline jurisdiction and then throw it back to them. But if it is something that breaches the fundamental right of a citizen, then the court will hear that. Take, for instance, I expect Senator Ono-Agege, if he's going to court, he should ask the court to remind National Assembly that they are not supposed to suspend him for more than 2 weeks. And then he has something to show for it. He comes with their order and their rule. Then the court will now look into it and then tell National Assembly that what you are doing is that you're creating a groundswell for breach of the law. And then I believe the National Assembly will now look into that. That is if they have not amended that aspect of it.
Yes.
But if he now goes to court and says they are not supposed to sanction me, they are not supposed to suspend me, then the court will decline jurisdiction because it is all in the internal affairs of the legislature.
Now, beyond this particular issue of how the court is likely to respond in the case of his rights,
Yes.
he has gone to court to ask for certain relief, right?
Yes.
What exactly will the court give him
It
at the
depends
end
on
of the
what
day?
he's asking the court.
Yes.
He's
What
asking-
do we know about what he's asking the court? Because, I mean, he's gone to court saying that, look, the Section 25 of the Electoral Act
Yes.
is against the chances of President Buhari in 2019.
That's what I'm saying. That what he's asking, if that is what he's asking the
Yes.
court, he's asking he's making a wrong prayer before the court. Because the court cannot stop the legislature. The judiciary cannot stop the legislature from carrying out their constitutional duty.
That's it.
Enshrined in Section 60 of the Constitution, enshrined in Section 67, 70, and the rest of a whole chapter that has to do with legislature and then at national level. So the court cannot stop that. And then, but if he's asking the court, if he's praying the court as the last hope of everyone,
Yes.
that my colleagues are handling me very roughly and then bruising my fundamental right as a citizen, then the court will hear him. The court will assume jurisdiction, and such jurisdiction will be meaningful. But if it is something that has to do with internal affairs of legislature, any court that assumes such jurisdiction is only doing an exercise in futility, because at the end of the day, it will not be obeyed.
Now,
And
this
then
is
it's not in
a
the best interest of the
legislature.
country for a judge to give an order that he knows that should not be obeyed.
Do we have one time for anyone? A legislature made up of mostly the same party, APC.
Yes.
Ono-Agege against his people. They're all in the same party. What exactly does this say about?
A house,
The house divided against
that is
itself.
divided against itself, likely to have problems. That's
Okay.
exactly what is going on.
All right, we have to leave you here now. Fred Nzako, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Many thanks.
Thank you very much.
so much.
Right.